All right, Joe. First of all, thank you again for getting us to pass the inspection. It is. It's hard. It really is. And so we're good for a year. So, Joe, let me ask you this first question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and how long you've been coming to New Hope.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say my name's Joe Memmel. There's a lot of other people under me that has helped me a lot. Mike, Jack, and Rich, and so many other people that has helped me with the building, and I appreciate that greatly. My wife, Mandy, is sitting over there. Could you please come up here and stand next to my side? Everything, the reason why I do this, or am calling Mandy up here, is because everything that I'm about ready to say or do, she's played a great role in putting me here where I'm at today. So I greatly appreciate her. We've been married for 23 years. We have 3 kids. Joseph, who's 19, who's in Belmont in college, and Jordan, she's 17. She's a senior at ACS, and she's actively looking for a college right now. And Jolie, she's 12, and she is in 6th grade at ACS. As far as our church attendance here, it's been, I think we may be the only family that is left that has actually started the church 17 years ago. And that ain't all because, when I say the Memmel family started it, it's not because of me, it's because of Mandy. She came, and I was a big drifter. I would come in and out of church. I would be 1 week here, 4 weeks MIA, 1 week here, 8 weeks MIA. I was never ever in tune with coming and fully committed to coming to church. Until about 2 years ago, I was on a hunting trip, and I spent a lot of time up in a tree stand, and my life was in spiral downhill. And God spoke to me, and He said, look, you're at a crossroad right now, and you need to make a choice, and you need to take my road or continue to take the path to destruction. And so I turned my life around, and He said to me, he said, I gave you a lot. I've given you a lot. I gave you a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful kids and a business, and I've prospered you, and you're just going with it in the wrong direction, and I can surely take that away. So it's up to you. So I looked at it as I didn't want to lose all that, and shortly thereafter, probably about 3.5 months, I was doing really good, but I went on a trip to West Virginia and relapsed, and that's when I finally realized that I needed to change for myself and not for anyone else but myself. And since then, it's been 19 months, and I've been completely sober of all drugs. I'm really committed to this church and the family here at it.
The second question is, how would you describe your life before and after you started being a steward or manager of God's money?
Well, as I was a drifter in church, that was the way I was with money. I would give when I wanted to give, and I would give in chunks, and it wouldn't be committed faithfully every week or every month as a tithe. And so the same way I was a drifter, the same way I was a giver, and I would do it only to my accord and only when I felt led to give. The way we do our bills, there's a certain amount of money that I give Mandy every month, and for many months I would get really ticked off at her. She would come to me at the end of the month and say, I don't have enough money. I said, what do you do? You know, if you wouldn't give so much to church, then maybe you have enough money. Well, she was given 20% of her money, but the way she looked at it was that's the only thing she could do with her money is tithe what she was given. and she was being a good stewardship of her money, and I commend her for that today. But again, after my tree experience, as I call it, 2 years ago, I started to open up and see different things in a light, you know, and God was telling me to be all in, and I started to meet with Larry. And years prior, I mean, me and Larry's known each other for 10 years at least now, and he would always want to disciple me. And this time around, as he grew, he knew me, that I was in 1 week, out 8, in 1, out 12. And he said, look, he said, you need to be all in. And I was like, wow, something clicked. And it was like, that's the same thing God said. And what Larry was meaning by all in was I needed to be committed to church and committed to God and to be a member of this church and to tithe and read my Bible daily. But I never, ever signed a commitment card for 15 or 20 years straight, because that's one thing I didn't want anybody to tell me that I had to do was tithe. And it just clicked, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I went to Mandy and I told her I was going to tithe, and that was it. I just started tithing. I started being committed.
All right, what words of encouragement can you give someone here today who is struggling with surrendering their wealth to Jesus?
Well, I changed the executive name of the CEO to CCO, and that's my little sermon here today, if you want to call it. And the CCO stands for Command, Commitment, and Ownership. And I feel, first of all, it's God's command for us to give and to tithe. And when you do that and you hand it over to God, that's when you're really going to be blessed. I hope that everyone here don't wait as long as I did to finally realize what I needed to do, because you will be missing out on a lot of blessings. I kid you not. It's His commandment. In James 1:22, it says, you know, do not merely listen to my word, to the word, and deceive yourself, but do what it says. So if you can't do one thing and believe one thing and then not do another, you know, I know we all are sinners and we're forgiven, but at the same time, we need to step up and do that. But as far as commitment goes, when you commit yourself to something, you really will that's when you'll start really receiving the blessing of giving and helping. And me, 2 years ago when I started, I become a member of a life group. We started the men's group, and I started attending church regularly. I stepped up and was put on the leadership team for the free market twice, and helped orchestrate that with the help of a lot of other people. And I wasn't the leader, but I was there, you know, as a leader helping. But we stepped in, and the toy store, I stepped into that and did a lot there with a team that we had here at church. I read my Bible daily, and I stepped into the leadership role of the building maintenance here. And after doing all that, I felt really committed. And it leads me to the last part of it. I took ownership in it. And when you take ownership in something, or something takes ownership of you, like God, that's when you really start really having the deep desire to give and want to help. I relate that to my business and church. And you know, at my business, I have services to sell, and I collect money for those services. And to pay for those services, I mean, the money that I collect for those services, I pay all of our bills, our gas and electric and salaries and so forth. But here at church, in a sense, we have something to sell, and it's eternal life. But guess what? It's free, so we don't get any money for it. And I think God really knew what he was doing when he put the whole thing about tithing in his plan. And we need to step up and do that if we are committed. And if you share this same commitment and the love of the church that we do, then I really think that we need to, somehow, some way, we have to pay for this church. We have to pay for the salaries, we have to pay for the gas and electric and so forth. But we don't have any services to sell, so therefore we count on everybody here as the church to do what God commands us to do and to tithe. So if you share that same desire that I do, I strongly urge you to step out and step up and do what God commands us to do and start tithing.
Yes.
And the last question is, Joe, I know you work here as a leader for overseeing the building, so what words of encouragement can you give someone here today about investing in God's work as it relates to their time and wealth?
Well, first of all, I would say that you really need to step out in faith and know that God is going to have your back in whatever you do, as long as it's his will. And his will is to be, a member of this church, or any church for that matter, and a son or daughter of his, and to follow his command, and to be obedient to him is part of faith. And once you start stepping out in faith and you're doing what he's saying to do, that's when he's just going to really open up and blossom the blessings. And for me, myself, I think that I'm a perfect living example of that. And what I've done, in the past 2 years is miraculous, and that's only through Christ that has done it. And again, if you share all the desires that I have talked about today, I just would strongly encourage you to step out in faith and start tithing. I love this church, and Mandy loves this church, and we would like to keep it going and keep these doors open. So we need everybody's money to continue to
That's
run
right.
this church.
That's right.
All of it. No, not
Let's do another hand.